Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another video. Today we're talking about the latest episode of The Last of Us titled The Path. We dive into the aftermath of the previous episode with just everything that went on at Jackson, and of course the death of Joel, and exploring kind of that a little bit, and the initial aftermath and the following few months after, and what will begin the process of Ellie's revenge mission and what she plans to do to carry out that revenge and everything. So it was a good episode. It was another slow one, but they can't all be like episode 2 where it's just we had this load of action, we had a big just crazy scene, and a big moment that's any of us who played the game saw coming. But of course, the people that didn't play the game were probably very shocked. I mean, I've seen the response and everything online. People just lost their shit all over again. And those of us who knew it was coming and everything was probably hoping on some level that they would change it up a little bit. But they did not go that route. They stuck true to the game and everything, which, in my opinion, as much as I hated when that happened in the game, and of course I hated when it happened in the show, it was the only way that the story could go anywhere, and Ellie's story, because that was the whole pivoting factor of how the story progressed after that. And of course, there you got your people that just lost their minds when it happened initially with the game, and just being completely ridiculous afterwards. Those of us who knew it was coming, it was still shocking, but nonetheless, we knew it had to happen. But they played it out a lot better, honestly, than what they did in the game. We got a little bit more context, a little bit more explanation of why it was happening, whereas in the game, we didn't really get that. So that was an interesting part of that. But diving into this next episode, I mean, it was definitely something to see the aftermath of the attack on Jackson and just the casualties that came with that. And it was an amazing addition to the story because it did not happen in the game. So I really enjoyed that. We got to see this kind of different side of Tommy, seeing him step up, being the leader that he is of Jackson, and facing down the bloater too, which was really awesome. I really enjoyed that. But just seeing how they reacted, we got a little bit of time jumping within this episode, starting off, of course, with the aftermath, kind of opening that scene with the battlefield or what have you outside the gates of Jackson, with just all the burnt up corpses of the infected, and of course, too, within the gates, within the settlements, just the utter devastation of losing so many people. They said at one point, because we get that 3-month time jump, that they pretty much had funerals for that whole 3-month period. And so it was really exciting to see them do it this way, and I really enjoyed how they did it. And one thing I wish they would have done, though, with this particular episode, because we knew that Tommy would react in such a way when he found out about Joel. They didn't include that. We just kind of got the after effect or what have you, where he's sitting down with Joel's body and he's since found out, and just everything about that. I just wish they would have included his initial reaction of, Jesse, Dina, and Ellie telling him Joel's been murdered by this group. We don't know who they are, blah, blah, blah. And I just wish they would have explored that a little bit more, dive deep into his initial reaction. But we just get this moment, and although it was kind of a full circle, kind of beautiful moment, which I did like when Tommy sat down with him, because the first like 2 or 3 minutes of the episode, there's no dialogue really. We just kind of get high crane shots of what happened to Jackson and just the things that are going on in the hospital and whatnot. So we see Tommy sit down with Joel's body, and it's covered by a sheet, and we just kind of get this wide shot of the morgue filled with bodies, considering what's happened. And then he just kind of takes a moment and he says, "Give Sarah my love," of course, referring to Sarah, Joel's daughter, who was killed at the beginning of the outbreak. So it's nice that, I guess, that he's reunited with his daughter, but still just a very devastating, heartbreaking moment for us fans who really believe that Joel carried the show and everything. And we know it's kind of Ellie's story, where it started out as kind of Joel's, but then we got that time jump of 20 years where they kind of skipped everything that happened in between. So I'm hoping at some point, whether it be a third game or just what they decide to do, if this particular franchise stays alive, that they go back and explore that a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see. But then after that, we get Ellie waking up in the hospital. She's got a tube in her side. We can all assume that's from the blows that she received to her ribs and everything. So she's probably got broken ribs. She's probably got maybe a damaged lung and everything. They're trying to relieve that pressure. And this is something that I predicted with the shots that we got from the teaser and everything for this episode, kind of going into why she wakes up screaming. And I think I was pretty spot on where she wakes up and she's just kind of had this moment of realization and just kind of, I guess, banked up terror and emotion and everything about what just happened. What she witnessed was the death of Joel, and she just wakes up screaming that, realizing that he is actually gone, and she doesn't know how to really process that. So she spends the next few months in the hospital, and before she leaves the hospital, she does, of course, sit down with Gail, and she's pretty much in full denial about what happened. She doesn't want to explain to Gail why Joel and her had kind of a damaged relationship there towards the end. But the rest of the episode kind of goes on. The town has this meeting about how they want to pursue whether or not they want to send a crew or whatever to go after Joel's murderers. And of course, the notion fails. But you had Seth, who from the first episode had given Dina and Ellie shit for kissing at that dance because he was drunk. And he stepped up and said, "We need to go after them. We need to make them pay. They came into our house, they killed one of our own, and they got away with it. So we need to make them pay for it, and we need to make it known that if you do this stuff, you will pay a price." And so you have this shocking moments where you have Seth really on Ellie's side, and I think he's trying to win her over a little bit, kind of maybe making up for the things that he said and his behavior that night. So we have him, and of course, like I mentioned, the notion for the town to go after Abby and her group officially fails, and of course, Ellie takes it upon herself to start packing up, planning this mission. Dina comes in, and this is all after Dina has revealed who these people were. She knows where they're based or where they're rumored to be based. She gave her names and everything. And so they kind of had this moments where Dina was prepared for Ellie to be mad at her, and they just kind of had another bonding moment, I guess. And so they go off and they start planning this. They're going to leave in the middle of the night. They're going to take a back gate out of the community. And Dina says, "Well, I know someone who can get us supplies, certain rations and batteries and things like that." And it turns out to be Seth. So we get them going out on their mission, and Seth trades Ellie a rifle, saying that this one's better. And along with that, too, at the point where Ellie is released from the hospital, she goes back into Joel's house, and Tommy has left a gift for her, which is Joel's watch that he wore all those 20 years that Sarah gave him on the night that she was killed. And it was damaged all those years and never worked. And he gave this to her in a box along with one of Joel's very notable guns, and she's going to use this to kill Abby. So it's very poetic in that sense. And so it was a really good episode, and also we got introduced to the Seraphites, or the Scars, or whatever you want to call them, in a really kind of weird way. We see them, they're kind of just minding their own business, they're on this path, and then at some points they become alerted to people that are on their tail, they scatter into the woods, and then it cuts off, and then we see them again later. They have all been killed off screen, which is a random thing. And so we see this new group. We don't know anything about them yet, but it should be interesting to dive more into that because they kind of had some dialogue back and forth. We had an older gentleman and his daughter just kind of talking about their history as a group and whatnot. But we get that, and of course we get the travels of Ellie and Dina making their way to the Seattle area. They make it, and they just assume, oh, there's not really anybody there. We don't see anybody, keeping watch or anything in certain parts of Seattle or what have you. And so they assume that the numbers of the wolves or whatever are very dwindled and whatnot. But then we get that closing shot that reveals otherwise, that they are very large in numbers and they are a formidable force. And so the next episode should be really good because we're going to get to be introduced to Isaac. I will do a breakdown of the trailer that we got for that, kind of talking about that, and just seeing that looks like we're going to get a little bit of history about Isaac and just kind of where he started. But all in all, it was a good episode. It was kind of slow, but it was still good. I did enjoy it. And yes, it's going to be something to see Ellie and Dina and Jesse and other characters like Tommy carry this without Joel, because of course Joel was kind of the main focal point of that first season, and to see them go on carrying the show without him, it will be kind of a test to see whether or not it can be done, because we can all agree that Joel is kind of the big deal about this particular franchise and everything, but Ellie, being who she is, she's also a main focal point. But the big complaint is, there's always been people complaining about the casting. The casting was very much missed in the sense of Ellie. I don't particularly, I guess, feel one way or the other. Yes, they probably could have gotten someone a little bit more that fits the profile, or just, I don't know, fits the character. But one thing I will say, and I don't complain about it a lot because there's no point in complaining. It's done. There's no point in bitching about it. Is that I don't feel that Bella Ramsey commits to the part. Like she can't achieve the emotional stamina or the emotional whatever that we saw Ashley Johnson portray in the game. It's a different level. And so that's just probably my biggest complaint. I don't hate Bella like a lot of people just really harp on her about her appearance and whatnot, and I think that's stupid. It's really just childish and everything. But that's just my biggest complaint when it comes to her. Pedro did fine, but Bella just, I don't know, she can't carry the very loaded charisma and just characteristics of the character of Ellie. It doesn't work in some ways. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing, come back for more content like this. I will do a breakdown of the trailer, and I will see you next time. So take care. Bye.